Title: The Lake Bodom Murders, Finland's coldest mystery. 4 teenagers went camping by a quiet Finnish lake, but by morning 3 of them were brutally slaughtered and the only survivor was covered in blood. 65 years later, no one knows who did it or why, but what if the killer was one of them? This is the chilling mystery of the Lake Bodom Murders. Finland, June 4, 1960. A warm summer morning, the kind where the air smells of pine and the sky never truly goes dark. 4 teenagers, Seppo Boisman, Tuulikki Mäki, Mela Björklund, and Nils Gustafsson, packed their camping gear and set out for Lake Bodom. It was supposed to be a night of laughter, guitars, and young love. Instead, it became a crime scene that still haunts Finland today. Before we go deeper into this chilling story, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear is a mystery that will make you question every version of truth you've ever believed. Now, imagine waking up in the middle of nowhere, hearing screams, feeling blood splatter, and realizing you're surrounded by death. The teens set up their tent near the water's edge. They laughed, told stories, and as night fell, they zipped up their tent and drifted off. But at some point, between 4 and 6 a.m., something or someone came for them. The next morning, a local man out for a swim noticed something strange. The tent was slashed to ribbons, collapsed inward. Inside, he found a nightmare: 3 bodies drenched in blood, beaten, stabbed, and mutilated. Only one person was alive, barely. 18-year-old Nils Gustafsson, his face battered, jaw shattered, lying next to the corpses of his friends. The police arrived quickly, but so did the crowds. Curious locals trampled the scene, destroying crucial evidence. The victims' shoes, wallets, and personal belongings were scattered everywhere, and some items were missing, never to be found. One of the most haunting details: the killer's knife and blunt weapon were never recovered. And then came the strangest discovery: the victim's keys were found inside the tent. So if the killer came from outside, how did they lock it? If this already has your mind spinning, drop your theory in the comments, because trust me, by the end of this story, you'll have your own suspect. Early theories pointed to a local man, a strange, angry ex-convict named Valdemar Gillström, known to hate campers. Witnesses said he'd throw rocks at tents and shout at teenagers to stay away from the lake. But there was a problem: Gillström's alibi was shaky, yet the evidence was thin. And years later, he drowned himself in Lake Bodom, the very lake of the murders. Did guilt drive him to suicide, or was it something else? While investigators chased ghosts, the only living witness, Nils Gustafsson, had no memory of the attack. He said he'd woken up to screams and chaos, but everything after that was blank. For decades, he lived quietly, until, in 2004, 44 years later, police arrested him for the murders of his friends. Yes, the survivor was now the suspect. Prosecutors claimed his injuries were self-inflicted, that a drunken fight turned deadly, and he killed everyone in a jealous rage over his girlfriend, Mela. But his DNA told a different story. His blood was found inside and outside the tent, but not on all the victims. Could that mean there was someone else? Investigators recreated the scene: the tent, the knife slashes, the positions of the bodies. They realized the attack was frenzied strikes from multiple directions. The murderer likely knew how to move in silence. Every cut was deliberate. One victim, Mela, had over 20 stab wounds, far more than the others. This wasn't random, it was personal. And that brings us to the darkest theory. The killer wasn't a stranger, but someone she trusted. If you were a detective on this case, what would you do? Who would you arrest, the violent local or the traumatized survivor? The public was divided. Some saw Nils as a victim, others as a liar. Psychologists said his memory loss could be trauma-induced, but skeptics argued it was too convenient. And one question refused to die: how could he have survived when the others were butchered in their sleep? The 2005 trial captivated Finland. For the first time, photos of the tent, the blood patterns, and the bodies were shown publicly. Experts testified that Nils' shoes had been worn by the killer, according to the footprints around the site. But the defense fought back, proving that blood splatter patterns didn't match self-inflicted wounds. The attacks came from outside the tent. And in a stunning moment, Nils broke down in court, crying that he loved Mela and would never hurt her. In the end, the jury acquitted him. After 45 years, he was officially declared innocent. But that didn't mean the truth was found. With Nils free, Finland was left with no killer and too many questions. Was it Gillström, the bitter recluse? A wandering psychopath who vanished after the killings? Or a calculated group attack that was covered up by the chaos? Police records show multiple knife marks, possibly from 2 different blades. Witnesses nearby claimed they saw a man dressed in black walking away from the lake that morning. Who was he? No one knows. If you've made it this far, hit that like button, because what's next might haunt you for days. Locals say, on foggy mornings, you can still hear the sound of canvas tearing like the tent that night. Some fishermen claim to see figures standing by the shore, 4 silhouettes, watching the water. The legend of Lake Bodom grew darker, inspiring horror movies, songs, and even the name of the metal band Children of Bodom. But behind the fame are real graves. In 2016, modern forensic analysts re-examined the evidence. They found degraded DNA on the victim's clothes belonging to an unknown male. But time had erased the rest. The killer's face was gone, forever buried by the years. And Nils Gustafsson, he lived quietly until his death in 2020, never changing his story. 3 teenagers lost their lives by a peaceful lake that became a grave. One survived but never truly escaped. And a killer walked free, hidden behind fog, silence, and time. Pause. So I'll ask you, do you believe the survivor or the evidence? If you want more true crime mysteries like this, ones that make you question everything, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because next, we uncover another case even colder than Lake Bodom.